Yeah, hello everybody. Thanks for coming and sorry for the little delay.
We're on time.
Oh,
we're not late.
We are not late. We're starting right now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Because I thought we are like 5 minutes late. So thanks for coming. Today we are going to talk about how to deploy and update microservices on the fly with Eclipse Cloud DevTools. My name is Ilya. I'm software engineer at Red Hat. I also EclipseCon committer, and I develop workspaces OpenShift.com and maintain it. And today with me, Mario and Marc.
Yeah, my name is Loriedo, and I work with Ilya on EclipseCon since a few years, and I'm also active on the CNCF, so I'm a CNCF ambassador.
And my name is Marc Nuri. I also work at Red Hat as a software engineer, and I'm currently maintaining the Fabricate Kubernetes client and Eclipse JCube.
Yeah, and today we're going to talk about Eclipse Cloud DevTools. So what is Eclipse Cloud DevTools? Basically, it's the community for industry-best open source cloud development tools. And the mission of Eclipse Cloud DevTools is basically to define and develop best of the class open source cloud development tools and drive their adoption and promote them. So the Cloud DevTools portfolio has around 15 projects that are open source. Today we are going to focus on two of those, EclipseCon and Eclipse JCube. And I would like to pass it over to Mario, who is going to introduce EclipseCon.
All right, so EclipseCon is a project of the Eclipse Foundation that is actually enable you to create cloud development environments on top of Kubernetes. So those are like containerized development tools with IDE running in a remote container, and you can connect from your laptop to the remote machine, either from your browser or, so what we're working on also is to be able to connect from your local browser, local IDE to the remote remote container containing the server side of the IDE. For that, we're extending Kubernetes, so we are adding on top of the Kubernetes API a new API that describe a development environment. So it's really first-class citizen in Kubernetes. So that means that with an kubectl apply, you're able to start a development environment. And yeah, last thing I would like to focus is that those workspaces are completely configurable, meaning that you're able, with Docker files and with our own format for specifying development environment, you're able to decide which development tools. So I've added a few development tools there, but also you can add runtimes, containers. So for web server or databases, so that you can test. You have a full development environment where you can not only code and build, but also test your application against the other runtimes or even other microservices, as we're going to see later on during the demos. And with that, I will let Marc introduce JCube.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know it, Eclipse JCube is a set of tools and plugins that will allow you to generate container images for your Java applications and the cluster configuration manifests to easily deploy them into Kubernetes. So it basically abstracts away the implementation details when creating Docker files and these cluster configuration YAML files by automating most of these tasks for you. It consists of several components, JCube Kit, which is a standalone module that you can use as a dependency, but there are also Maven and Gradle plugins that will allow you to easily integrate JCube's functionality in your projects. Ilya.
Yes, and we are going to demo everything on Developer Sandbox. So workspaces OpenShift.com is also part of this ecosystem. So what is Developer Sandbox? Is basically a playground for learning and trying Kubernetes and OpenShift. So with Red Hat account, you get instant access for 30 days with very generous resource set. So you get 14 gigs of RAM and 40 gigs of storage. After 30 days, your account is deactivated, but you can reactivate it infinite number of times. So yeah, you can scan the QR code right now, or we will leave it at the end on the last slide, so you can do it later. And with that, I pass it over to Mario again, who is going to introduce you to the demo application that we are going to develop.
Yeah. So the application that Ilya and Marc are going to show, show how to develop with J and JCube is actually a web application, a Quarkus web application that uses Postgres as a database, but it's actually so a microservices-based application because there are all other microservices. So you see every little square here is a pod, so it runs on Kubernetes, and every component is running in its own dedicated pod. So yeah, next slide, please. Yeah. So the application actually uses our RabbitMQ. So the user, what it does is that it creates orders. Those orders are queued in RabbitMQ queue, and the queue then is consumed by another microservice that if you can, yeah, that is the mail microservice that actually is going to send emails. And the last microservice is the order faker. So we use that to actually test the application to simulate the creation of orders, simulating a user that is creating orders. Yeah, so this is the architecture. And now we are gonna see the first demo. It's the first development environment, and Ilya will talk about that.
Yeah, thank you, Mario, for great introduction. So in the first demo, so how we are going to develop the application is we're going to start from the GitHub, and then we are going to start our development environment. And in this development environment, all the microservices are going to be run inside one pod. So there would be multiple containers, but one single pod. For the sake of clarity, and since we don't have a lot of time, we are going just to focus on the Quarkus and database. And let me just open the GitHub, and we can start. So you can see that now I'm on GitHub, and we have very nice browser extension that we contributed a few months ago to major marketplaces of the main browser vendors like Chrome, Firefox, Safari. So now you can, if you install it, you have the dev spaces, which is like a product based on Eclipse Chat button right inside of your GitHub. But if you don't have an extension, we promote another way to start your workspace. Is basically in the README you can have a link with a nice badge that links to your Eclipse Chair instance. So it's basically a URL. And in order to develop every single microservice as a container inside one pod, we have this dev file YAML, which is basically a representation of your container development environment. If you are not aware of dev file standard, this is basically the CNCF sandbox project, and the goal is to describe your development environment as explicit YAML file. So if you're aware of Jenkins file, the idea is very similar. So in the Jenkins file, you specify all your pipelines, and Jenkins understands this file and creates pipelines accordingly. So pretty much the same principle applies to the dev file. And it's important to say that it's not a Titan to Eclipse Chat. So any tool can leverage it and use it for their purpose. Also, in the repository we have .vscode file with extension JSON, which allows to specify the extensions from the OpenVS6 marketplace that would be installed automatically. So I can just click on the button, and my workspace is going to be started. So a lot of things happening under the hood. So if we open the events, we can see many Kubernetes events. So like images are pulled, and then the volumes are mounted. So we need some time for Kubernetes to kick in and provision resources. Also, we have the nice logs view, so we can see and observe all the containers that we have. So some of them are internal, like checkcode injector, which injects the IDE to the container development environment, and project clone that does the project cloning during the workspace startup. So workspace is now running, but I get this unauthorized error. So it's demo effect. I need to refresh. And you see in the browser, I have the VS Code. So in the dev file, you not only specify the containers for your development environment, you also specify commands, and you can execute the commands right from the IDE. So for example, for now, let's just start development environment, which actually going to run the Quarkus in the dev mode. So I'm running Quarkus. And in a few seconds, it should be started. So now I can open the application in the new window. So let me just check one thing. So yeah, Chrome enforces a protocol. I think I fixed it because we can expose actually HTTPS as well. It looks like something went wrong. So for now we use HTTP. So you see nice UI, but there is no data. So I just started Quarkus, but nothing interesting, right? But let's say that I have the, okay, I think I understand now what happens. So I started, sorry folks, I started it from, not from my fork where I prepared everything, I started it from the main, so we probably need to restart. Yeah, it's a little bit delayed, but yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting to add here that it's easy to actually start from a pull request or from a specific branch workspace. So what you need to provide to Che is URL to your Git repository, and you can provide the URL to your branch or your PR, and it will actually load that. So that it makes really easy to switch context, something that is hard on your laptop, but it's really easy here because it's just a matter of copying the URL and starting it. So yeah, that's what Ilya is going to do, I guess. Yeah, thanks, Mario.
So yeah, now I'm in the right repository. So it's the fork where I did some tweaks. And yeah, let's start it again. So it was like the wrong repository. Okay, yeah, it's really not going well today. So let me restart. Yeah, I should have prayed to the demo gods in advance. I think on the third attempt it should work. So this is pretty much the same thing, but now I want to show you something under the hood, what happens under the hood. So this is like the dashboard that you use to start workspace, and we have some getting started. But we can cross-navigate from the Eclipse Chat dashboard to the underlying Kubernetes cluster and actually see that workspace is a pod, and it contains a set of containers. So now we can see it on the OpenShift level. So currently it's waiting. We are waiting for the workspace startup. Again, it's a lot of things happening under the hood. So images are pulled. We can see the logs from different containers, and eventually the workspace is started. So I do it really quickly now. So I'm going to run the task. That is something that we already think. So I start development environment. So I'm starting Quarkus in dev mode, and it's so something that I showed you, that we can expose not only HTTP but also HTTPS protocol. So this is now fixed, and when I open the 8080 port, so it should work out of the box. So if I open in new tab, we can see the application with running against HTTPS. So, but something that I added to my fork. So I want to initialize a database with some data and see how it's going to work in the application. So I have an init SQL, and again I can run task which basically executes this SQL script and creates a database. And now all of a sudden I already have the data, and I can actually open the terminal in the selected container in the database container and execute Northwind database, and I can see all the tables, and I can run like select queries. So like let's select everything from orders. So it works really well. So now let's say that I need to test against the different version of Postgres. So here I have like version 13 defined as my development environment, but I want new major version. So what I can do now is open the terminal. I can commit this change. And I can push it. And then I can do this trick. So I can restart workspace from local dev file. So what is going to happen once the workspace restarted, the new version of the dev file would be used for creation of my container development environment. And so when I restart, PostgreSQL version 14 is going to be used. So with that, we can take a look at the events, and we can actually see it also on the on the OpenShift console view. So if I open the workspace, I can see that Northwind database, the different version of the image tag was used. So you see that this image is now pulling, and it's pulled from the Docker registry. And now if I execute a new task, let me refresh. The application, this application should not be running anymore. Let me start again from. So it's running, but for some reason browser is not loading it. Okay, I think that something is weird going on with the workspace, but yeah, you should trust me that yeah, the pod is running, so we can open the container in the pod and basically execute version. So it's version. Minus version. So PostgreSQL 14 is used. And with that, I pass it over to Marc, who is going to introduce another part of the demo. Hopefully it would go better. This, okay. Yeah.
Okay, so what Ilya showed was really cool. If it had worked better, but trust me, it's cool. But what happened in his example is that he actually replicated the production environment in his own workspace environment. So he actually was deploying the dependent microservices and the database and so on. So you saw that he was using a given Postgres database and so on. However, this might not be sustainable in a microservice environment where you might have tens, hundreds, or even thousands of microservices. And what you want is to work with your application and see how it behaves when connected to the rest of the microservices. So his example is great to work in isolation. However, if you want to test your application while still being connected to the other, what you probably want is to be able to place like your development environment as if it was part of that environment. So in this case, when I'm going to demo this, which will show you the JCube remote dev feature, which will allow you to do this. It will basically place your laptop and replace whatever microservice you're working on. In this case, we are going to work with the Northwind database. So
yes.
You check the number of orders, eventually a new order will be created. So this handle is closed because there's another microservice this should fill with the real data. Okay, 1 second, because so I want to configure my sandbox in my dev space. So I want to be able to interact with this cluster. So I'm going to run this command in a terminal. 1 second. You know how to. Okay. Yeah, now it's working. So yeah, as I was saying, I will start now the JCube remote dev task, and as soon as it starts, this should grab the data or not.
I think login failed for some reason.
I close this one. Yeah. Third one's the charm. So again.
No, I think you need to log in. So just open the terminal, new terminal.
Yeah, but I did that here.
Yeah, but it's failed. So something wrong with server. Yeah, this one works. So now
Okay.
it should work.
Now again. Let me try again. Okay, now it's working. So we're downloading the internet, but eventually. Okay, so the remote development session started, and as you can see, this was with empty data a few seconds ago, but it's now getting the same data that I have in production. At the same time, the URL that was exposing my production application is now exposing my laptop or my dev workspace. So I'm actually connecting to the application that I have here. So if I make any change, for example, let's change the application title. So this is here. Very simple change, like nothing traders add EclipseCon, and I save it. If I restart, the changes are live. So same for the URL. This URL could be accessible by someone who's actually helping me or whatever. So I'm actually live coding the application in the staging environment now. Same as if I want to change, for example, the subject of this email, this should also be possible. So I can go here to the Java, the mail service, and here we have the subject, must be shipped as soon as possible. I can save again, and if I press on this envelope, yeah, so you see, it's pretty cool because I'm actually coding stuff while I'm still being able to interact with the rest of microservices. So same the microservices that are interacting with my application, I will also be able to debug whatever processes might be failing from their side. So it's really cool. Once I stop the development session from JCube, everything should get back to normal. So if I restart here, all of those changes should be gone, and I should be getting again my production application. You see the title went away, and also if I press the envelope, everything went back to the previous state where I don't have any changes. Yeah, so this is pretty cool. I think that you saw that some things didn't go very well, but you saw how it was working, and I think that it's cool because you can also have do the same by getting to this Red Hat Developer Sandbox, and we have some activities here, and we have an exact activity to reproduce what we did here today, which is this one. So you have a guided step-by-step activity that will tell you exactly the same that we actually, well, not exactly the same, but more or less what I demoed here. So yeah, and I give it back to Ilya.
Yeah, thanks, Marc, and thank you. Sorry for the few hiccups during the demo. Here is the QR code if you would like to try Developer Sandbox and Eclipse Chat with JCube. So the activity is there. There are a lot more on Developer Sandbox, so a lot of exercises to learn OpenShift and Kubernetes. Give it a go. Let us know on GitHub, on Twitter, on Slack, or Gitter for JCube. Thank you very much. Any questions?
You ran two different sandboxes. So
Yeah.
that is the productive one.
And
And why did you get the productive data to yours? I didn't get that point. What is JCube doing there?
So in his case, he was replicating a production environment. His data was fake.
Yeah.
So he filled in a database with stuff. In my case, it was like, let's say you have a staging environment or a development environment shared with other developers, where you have a real reproduction of your application with maybe thousands of microservices. That would be impossible to reproduce in his scenario because you would need to deploy like a thousand containers. In my case, that data was real. You could have deployed another microservice from a different team, and you would still be able to interact with that. So it's more like an integration part. His part is more to work on isolation. My part was more to work in integration with the rest of the services in the application scope.
right, then thank you very much.